Welcome back, or if you're new here, I'm Peter Stephanatos, an agent with Compass, and today we're going to be talking about how to prepare your mainline home for sale in 2025 the right way. In this video, we're going to cover everything from how to properly list your home for sale, common mistakes to avoid and typical mistakes that we see, also top tips and tricks, and how to properly market your home with a recent example from my last sale. Let's get into number one. Start with a plan. Timing matters. Most mainline homes sell within the spring and summer, so typically it's great to start preparing in late winter to get ahead of the competition. Consult a mainline agent. Specifically within the main line, you definitely need a neighborhood expert. For example, we'll come into a client's house that's looking to sell in the spring or summer. Actually, this recently just happened. They wanted to see if redoing their bathroom would be worth it. We pulled the comps for the neighborhood, and we actually believe that it wouldn't have been worth doing a complete gut of that bathroom, and instead we're just doing some cosmetic fixes. But every neighborhood is different, so make sure you consult a mainline agent. If you have any questions, I'll leave my number, email here. Feel free to give me a call, text, email anytime. We've done over 90 transactions within the mainline over the past 12 months. We're based in Wayne and Ardmore. I grew up in Villanova and still live there today and have absolutely loved it. Feel free to send me a text, give me a call anytime. Declutter and depersonalize. Buyers on the mainline look for charm and character, but also want to be able to visualize them living in the space. Try to take down some of those family photos or highly personalized decorations, because it might sound silly, but it could deter a buyer from visualizing them actually being able to live there. And again, an agent can help you point these things out. The highest priority rooms are the kitchen and living room, because these are typically the biggest rooms during an open house that catch their eye and people typically remember. Highlight unique features. Every home is a little bit different, and every home has its highlights. Ensure that these highlights, for example, a home that I just recently sold a couple weeks ago, a big highlight of that property was the yard. So it's common sense, but make sure all of your shades are up. You know, the yard is clean and you can see it. We even wiped down all the windows just so when you'd walk into the kitchen, you can see that yard really clearly, and it really just catches your eye. First impressions are everything, and you want to make sure you leave the best one. Investing in small updates, painting some walls, repainting trim or replacing trim, updating light fixtures, refreshing hardwood. These are some simple cosmetic fixes that can really make a difference. And again, we are marketing your home, so we want to make sure we're doing the best job marketing it as we possibly can. The simple things like just the colors and paint being new are very inexpensive, but can go a very long way. Your mainline agent will tell you these things. I just did an open house at a property actually within the main line, and they still had wallpaper in some of their spots within their home. Now, you know, wallpaper's not really that desirable, right? Just painting over it or taking it down, painting over it is pretty inexpensive. For how many people looked at that and it likely completely turned them off from the property, when it's just a simple thing to, you know, get rid of. It shouldn't deter someone to buy a house just because there's wallpaper, but you'd be surprised. People can't visualize what these rooms look like when they're in their best condition. That's why staging works so well. But when it comes to wallpaper, a lot of people will look in a room with wallpaper and just instantly be like, this is too much work. I don't want to have to deal with this. And that turns off people that would potentially be interested. And we're actually working with another client that's looking to sell in late spring, that they have wallpaper in their bedroom, in their master bedroom. And I told them, you know, this wallpaper, we're gonna have to paint over it or remove it. It just can't be here, because a lot of people see it and just think that the whole house is just super old and dated. So these are very simple things you can do that are definitely worth it. The same rule applies to old paint color, really old trim, doors that have been worn out, you know, repainting them. As we said, floors just being repolished. If there's any cracked tiles, you know, just replacing that one or two tiles that you have that are cracked, and thoroughly cleaning. Now, let's get into the common mistakes many make when listing their mainline property for sale, especially in 2025. Overpricing your home. This is a tricky one. Why this can be so detrimental is because your property is getting more days on market. More days on market on a property brings down its value. At least its perceived value. That first week is the hottest week for that property's perceived value. Every single day you go down, its perceived value is slowly deteriorating. That's why you typically want to sell your house as fast as possible. So pricing it properly is extremely crucial. Now, few agents have a couple secrets on their belt. For example, we have access to the private market, where a lot of mainline properties are listed for sale privately, so they're not accruing days on market, they're not on the MLS, they can't be publicly seen, but our brokerage and network advertises this home and typically sells them pretty quickly. We just closed on that property like I was talking about before on the Springton Reservoir, our closing was around 2 weeks ago, and we sold that home on the private market in 3 days. We ran the comps and we believe that this, we'll just say a number, we'll say it was worth $1 million, we believe was a fair market value for your property. What do you want to get for it? If we got 1.2 to 1.25, we would be absolutely ecstatic, super happy. So we listed it on the private market for their aspirational price, 1.25, where if they got that number, they'd be ecstatic. The home actually ended up selling over asking. We had a short showing window, multiple offers, and we were able to get them exactly what they were looking for, terms-wise, price-wise. So it worked out really well. But this private market allowed us to test a portion of the market privately at their aspirational price to get feedback. We didn't have to sell it privately if we didn't want to. We had 5 offers on the private market, and we could have came back and said, okay, a portion of the market has said that our aspirational price is reasonable. Now with that data, we can go to the main market, we can go to the public market at a higher price point and just see what happens. You know, it just gives you some more information without any type of consequence. For my sellers in that situation, they were ecstatic at 1.2 to 1.25. They didn't care. They would sell it. So they didn't want to play that game, which is completely fair. You know, everyone has their price where they don't want to let the deal slip. But the private market, which some agents have access to, and only some agents have a really great network within their private market. At Compass, we have a solid network, and our team has a solid network within the main line. So that's why we sell a lot of things privately. The homeowners love it too, because no open houses. Everyone who's coming for showings are with an agent, and we know they're serious. And the sellers just have a lot more control because they were still like living there, you know, and they didn't want like all their neighbors to come through their house for open houses. So the private market gives you a lot more control without any consequence. So it is definitely an asset. I would say if you are on the main line, you should definitely be considering posting your aspirational price on the private market and at least just get some feedback. And say you put it on the private market and get no responses, no offers, and feedback is, oh, this is overpriced. You just learned that price point is too high for free with no consequence because it was on the private market. The public market, it didn't accrue any days on market, no nothing. There's no consequence. So now you could go to the public market at a lower price point. The private market can save you a ton of money. And it's only because when you do decide to go public, you have much more information. Now, if you have any other questions about the private markets, I'll have my number here. Just send me a text, give me a call anytime. It is a bit confusing. And it's a newer thing that has been really starting to take off over the past 2 years. Sellers that have been utilizing it have absolutely been loving it. So I would tell you to definitely explore it. Common mistake number 2, ignoring curb appeal. Guys, we are marketing your home. It has to look the best it possibly can be. Outside is a huge factor. When people are first pulling up to the property, that is the first impression. It sounds silly, but try to clear as many branches as you can. Make sure you had your leaves cleaned up. You know, grass was freshly cut. If you wanted to mulch the property, make sure you're doing it before these open houses and these showings. Make sure weeds are out of your patios. It is definitely worth doing these little small things that are not very costly just for that first impression. Because a buyer will come into that home and see, oh wow, this home was well kept. Having nice curb appeal, the landscaping looks nice. This, even subconsciously to buyers, signals that, oh, the homeowners cared about this property. That goes a long way. When you walk into a property where it's immaculately maintained from the outside and inside, concerns are not exactly on the radar of the buyers. I hope that makes sense. Another big mistake is skipping repairs. Repairs are so important to be making before selling your home, because not only is it one less thing that's on the seller's disclosure that'll scare off potential people, like, oh yeah, but you have to repair this, this, and this, you know, when you buy the home, because these things have to be repaired. Not only is that a burden to these buyers and they look at it like, oh wow, now I have to do work, right? But it also makes them think, what else did they not repair? Or what else did they not catch that might have to be repaired? Oh, they didn't care for this property. It wasn't well maintained. I'll tell you, whenever I'm going into an open house, right now I'm helping a couple people within the main line look for a property. And I always go through the seller's disclosure and I write up a report before we inspect the property. And whenever I've come across these reports where there are damages or leaks, but they haven't properly been repaired or they haven't pulled proper permits, it deters so many people because they don't even want to deal with it. and they'll just say, I'll wait for the next one. So repairs, make sure you're taking care of them, because I would tell you, if you did that repair, there might be someone who actually would have been interested in the property, but that repair just literally scared them off. It made them think, I'll wait for the next one, where the owners actually took care of the property. That's just what they'll be thinking. It's a little bit of a psychology game here. And as we said before, the simple things like, if you have like a leaky faucet, make sure you take care of that. Cracked tiles, peeling paint, chips in your paint or the wall, right? These are just simple things that you just want to repair so people don't think, oh, they didn't take care of their property, or, oh, this wasn't well maintained. You don't want to plant that seed in a buyer's head, because they will wander with it. You don't want to give them the inclination that this property wasn't perfectly maintained. That's all. Now, number 3, marketing your mainline property properly. Whenever we take on a listing, we have professional photography teams come out and take gorgeous photos. I actually go there with them and I'll say, actually, no, we want the angle of this. We want a little bit more light here. Make sure you guys do that in post-production. Try to get the angle from here because we want that window that looks out to the reservoir, these types of things. So I'm always like working with the photography team. We cover that expense for them to come out, even do drone shots. Also, I do home tours for my listings just because I want people to get the story of that house. So I'll make a home tour, and everyone who comes into the property, they have access to this home tour through a QR code at the end of their sign-in. They can always see that. So it just all ties into the marketing of the property, showing them everything. So from high quality photos, high quality video. My team and I, we also do lots of different printouts and stuff and folders to keep every single person who comes into the property properly informed. I'll have a picture on screen just of what those layouts typically look like. They're just, professional prints, and they look really nice, and people really appreciate the info that they can take away. And for example, for that property that I told you guys, I mentioned a few times already throughout this video, we sold in the Springton Reservoir. A key highlight was that you had actual views of the reservoir. So we marketed the property around that fact, because a lot of people within that same complex, that neighborhood, do not have access to see that reservoir. So we first started with views of the reservoir, right? From the kitchen, we show how you can see it. From the master bedroom, you can see it. From the closet, you can see it. So just constantly pointing out these highlights that are just so unique about the property. That just goes into the marketing plan. Again, when I'm sitting down with listing somebody's home, we go over a marketing plan about what is going to sell this house, who is looking to buy this and why would they buy it. And we just try to highlight those specific things that cater to the property's perfect buyer. Just like we said in those video tours, we also go over all the highlights within that property. So for example, the school district is a typical highlight within the main line. So we could say you're 5 minutes from, we'll take my home, for example, in Villanova. You were 30 seconds, 40 seconds away from Ithan Elementary School. You're 10 seconds away from Notre Dame Academy, Radnor Middle School and Radnor High School are 8 minutes away. So these are the big selling points that, you want to pinpoint. And within the property description under the listing, we make sure we highlight that. In the video tours, those will be the first things that we say, and we'll repeat it a couple times. And again, that's just details, goes into the marketing, but just ensure that your agent understands how to market your property, because every single one is different and every single one needs a different marketing plan. Showings and open houses. Now, I have a bit of a strategy when it comes to showings. For example, with my last listing, we had a very short showing window and a short private market window. So it gave the illusion where it wasn't an illusion, it was a small time frame for everyone who was interested within our network to see the property. We had 11 showings squeezed into just 3 days. And one of those days we also had a broker's open where we had a bunch of agents over, and the home was just buzzing with people always. So it gave the illusion of, oh wow, there's a lot of people here. A lot of people are interested in this property. If we're gonna deliver an offer, we gotta do it now. It's gotta be our best, and we can't be fooling around here. Whenever we had at least one guest or group within the house, there was always one more or two more within the property. Just so, always had that buzz. And for everyone who came in, they understood that there is a lot of demand for this home. Also, I would, voice that to the people who were coming in. Yeah, we've had lots of, engagement, 11 showings in 3 days, So people get that sense of, oh, wow, people are interested. It's unfortunate when agents don't do that, because people might come into a house and they'll say oh yeah, I like it. Okay, cool, I'll think on it. They miss it. when if they understood how in demand the property was, they might have put in an offer. So for your agent to be there, fully inform everyone who comes through there on the actual situation of that property is extremely crucial. And that's what I make sure I do. Now, after the showing phase or private showing phase, we get into the open house phase. Say we don't sell it privately and our aspirational price was too high. We'll drop the price down a little bit. We'll go public and we'll start with the open houses. The open house strategy is very similar. You want a small window for open houses, only having them on the weekends because that's when most people can typically come by, and a smaller window, say like 1.5 to 2 hours instead of a lot of agents who do 3 hours. The more you can have a bunch of people squeezed in overlapping, the better people understand the demand there is for that property. And if they're serious or at all interested, they'll make a move. And during these open houses, for example, during the broker's open, we didn't get to do open houses because the property sold too quickly. We had a large buffet of food. I'll show you guys the different food I got for everyone who came through. Right on that large center island within the kitchen with all the windows open from the food, you could see the reservoir, and it just went to a little, sprinkled cherry on top of just marketing the property of this is what it would look like when you're having events here. You'd have all your food out on the countertop here. A lot of people would be coming through, making their plate. It gives people that visualization of, oh, wow, this is what I'm going to be doing here. You also want to do that with outdoor spaces, having the door open with just the screen, having in and out, maybe the speakers going a little bit in the background. This is just a part of the marketing plan. During these open houses as well, I typically have prepared folders. I'll show you on screen, just a bunch of property information, also like how to get in touch with us, have the video tour link, the listing link, a bunch of photos of the property, just everything in these folders so people can go back home and go through it and be like, oh yeah, this one was a good one. We should put something in here. And also these documents all look really nice. So it also gives the feeling that this property is just next level and different from the rest. I also made another video about selling within the main line. If you want some more tips that are a bit more neighborhood specific, I'll have that right here. I have a bunch of different videos on the channel. I also have different neighborhood guides, buying guides, and just a plethora of videos. I'll have the playlist right here also. But this is pretty much going to wrap it up. So if you're deciding to list your mainline home, this is an exciting new chapter within your life. But it's a big decision and you want to make sure you go about it properly. I also have a PDF down below highlighting all of the tips within this video in case you want to print them out and have them for a later date, or you just want to go over them because I rambled a lot in this video. The link is down below. You can just click that link. We also have another link if you want to see the actual value of your property in today's market. Zillow is actually not correct. Feel free to click that link and it'll give you an accurate estimate of your home within 24 hours. And we have another link below as well if you just want to get in contact with us and tell us a bit about your situation. Again, if you have any questions, I'll have my name and number on the screen. Feel free to send me a text, give me a call, send me an email. Thank you for clicking on the video. It's been Peter Stephanoulis with Compass. Take it easy, guys. Peace.